Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. May I request all of you to have your camera on? The networking would be meaningless otherwise. Okay. So, a couple of things. The first is how many of you will be appearing for your 2025 prelims in just a few days? Have your virtual hands raised? Only those who are dead serious about appearing for the examination. None of those folks, who are in for try. Okay, so I think more than 50%. Now, only those who have been sending us daily updates, only those folks have your hands raised. And of course, Archita will raise this also. All right, good. Okay. So I think we informed this that we will have few special sessions starting this month for your prelims. And to be honest, I'm doing this out of goodwill. You have access to all the material, you have access to all the resources, but I'm doing this out of goodwill. I will be spending my time, dedication. I could sit back, relax, chill. But instead of doing that, I will be holding these special sessions. But these sessions are only for those who are sending us daily updates, for solving PYQs on daily basis, or studying certain subjects on daily basis, and are also updating us about that. Consistency is key. So Archita will float a form. So to all those who have been sending us daily updates, of course, you will attend those live sessions. To all those not sending us updates, uh, unfortunately, you will not be able to attend those sessions, as was informed. Okay. Having said this, those sessions are important, um, but it's not our fault now. My request was that you were regular with your work. That's it. If you're not serious, why should we be serious with you? So, so fill the form once Archita shares those forms. As an exception, we will have one column in that form asking you the reason why you were not sending us the updates and why you should be attending these sessions. Okay, so if you're convinced, then of course you will have access to those sessions. Those will be live only. Clear? So all of you, raise your hands. Up until now, any questions? Anyone? The form link will be shared by Archita on the WhatsApp group. To all those who are not sending us the updates, you may still fill the form, but we need a rational explanation. Why you were irregular, why you haven't been solving MCQs, and why would you want to be part of such sessions? How could this help you? Clear? It's all free of cost. You cannot hold me accountable for it. All right. That's up to a gloomy start now. Now, now we would also want to welcome the newest members to this beautiful community of misfits. So how many of you became part of misfits recently? Or to put it differently, how many of you became misfits recently? Raise your hands. Keep your hands raised. Okay. You're meeting me for the very first time. So all the others are veterans. So what I'll do is I'll cold call one of the veterans, and that veteran will perhaps welcome you all to this beautiful community. Okay. So let me see who I can cold call. I can see Khushi. Please welcome the newest members. How will you do it?
Hello, sir. And hi, everybody. You might have seen me in the starting classes. Uh, and uh, Actually, I'm going with my history classes, so I'm just revising it on loop, and everything is coming back to me. And it's like I haven't missed a single day of it. And I would like to welcome you all to this beautiful community. This is a community with great people who will support you at every end. I want to thank Naman sir for being there. Um, I am getting the chills of the prelims right now. It's coming closer every day, and I am just getting a bit nervous about it. So, this community will help you in going through that process. My only the only thing that I want you to stay with is be consistent. Whether this year has been a very, unfortunately, a very tough year for me, and I plan to give the prelims in 2025. Hopefully, things go well. My health has not been that well, so I just want to say that troubles will come, problems will come, but just keep going, and that's what I've been doing.
Okay, good. So for prelims, don't worry. We will have these sessions. And to be honest, I would say last 50, 60 days are important. Very important. You would have made many mistakes already, and that's fine. Trying it out things, it's important. So how you handle pressure, how you perform in the last 50, 60 days, that is incredibly important for your prelims and also for mains. But yes, to be at that stage, you've got to be consistent with a few things. And you all were informed about it. We will have similar sessions for mains also before your mains. So chill. Kshitij, let's introduce the new folks. How will you do it?
Hello, everyone. So, it is very great to connect in this after we were done with PSIR module. So it's very great connecting in this event. In one sentence, if I have to give you all a message, is you have made one big decision in your life to join the Misfits. Because from now on, it's gonna change your perspective around how you see things and how you unfold realities of everything happening around you in politics and geopolitics, regarding studies, geography, economics, every subject. And one advice I would like to give you is you'll be going through the recordings. For those who have joined PSIR, they'll be going through the PSIR recordings now because the live sessions are done. And the GS people will be going through the GS recordings. So try to be interactive in those recordings, and that's going to be very fruitful and helpful for you. Just don't passively watch the recordings. Be active in the interactions. Take down your notes, however you are comfortable. So that is how I would welcome everyone. And really a big decision, one big decision of their lives.
Okay, good, great. Let me check with others as well. All of you, please have your cameras on. We'll meet you on daily basis. Tanmay, after you, let's introduce.
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. First of all, welcome all the new members. This is perhaps one of the most important decisions of your life. Not just like giving the UPSC exam, but studying here, because, like Shittit said, it will expand your perspective. Not just it's not limited to just your subjects, but the way Naman sir teaches, it will take you beyond that. It will make you think critically, uh, and you would be amazed how it affects your daily life thinking. Okay, so that's the fun part of it. I think Khushi talked about consistency. That's very important. One thing I would like to say, because you're starting right now, make good notes. Learn how to make good notes, because at the end, it's difficult to go through those recordings again. But if you have made good notes of whatever has been said in the class, it will come very handy. Okay. And lastly, follow what Naman sir says. I know he himself asks us not to trust anyone blindly and question everything. But I think there's a certain point after which you have to keep faith on someone. You have to, show trust on someone's methods. So if you can do that, you will go a long way in your journey in this, UPSC exam. Thank you.
Perfect. Perfect. And also briefly introduce yourself also so that others who are meeting you for the first time, they're also aware of you. But good. Thank you. Harika, off to you. Message for the newcomers.
Good afternoon, sir. Hello, everyone. I've been part of MisFits for more than a year, and this is one of the best experiences ever. It is not a classroom where you have to compete with your friends, but you will collaborate. You can interact with anyone you see, and also you can ask questions. Also, everyone in this community responds so beautifully. Um, my best advice to you is make notes. That notes is going to come so handy even for polity also. Naman says explanation for that will make your Lakshmikant so easier, and keep consistent and take care of your mental well-being. Thank
Yeah,
you.
interesting. Good. Janani, off to you.
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. Very, very warm welcome to the community. I'm Janani. I've been part of MesFits for 1.5 years now, and this will be my second attempt after becoming the parts of MesFits, and overall, it's my second attempt. Um, Joining MesFits will turn into one of the best sessions of your life too. So right now, if you're all perplexed, if you're all excited to just start this journey, trust it, because one of the biggest challenges that we as UPSC aspirants face is trusting the journey, trusting the process. I feel that this community in itself will help you trust the process more. So the more you trust what you're doing, the more you'll excel in it. So that's something that I would definitely emphasize on. Apart from that, like the others told, notes is very important, especially for subjects like economics and geography. Note down every single word Naman sir says. It is the most comprehensive material that you can ever find for both the subjects. As far as history and polity is concerned, just follow through whatever he says. Whatever post reads he gives for history is mandatory, and whatever um, homeworks that he gives in polity is very, very important. So on completing these four subjects, you will have a very, very strong foundation, good enough to appear in this prelims. So that's all is my advice and my hearty, hearty welcome to the community. I look forward to connecting with you all very soon. Thank you, sir.
Great. And personally speaking, I'm also excited to now um, redo bits and pieces of prelims as you prepare for the examination this year. Okay. And Vidya Basuni, what about you?
Hello, sir. Hello, everyone. I have been part of this journey since June 2024, and I was just about to appear prelims when I joined Misfits. Actually, it was like a decision that I made in an instant because I was so enamored with Sir's videos on YouTube. It's because how Sir's teachings and methods had been implanted in our mind. It's so important and so interesting that you can not ever forget something that when you see the question, you will just remember whatever Sir has said in the classes. And for my journey, I have not that been consistent in the first part of the journey, and there had been some problems in my homeland in Manipur because of the internet shutdowns. I have not been able to be follow the consistency, but I have been trying to cope up, and I have almost finished all of the GS subjects except polity for some last part of the videos. And actually, I enjoy polity so much that I can watch about 4 videos per on a day. It's like watching a Netflix series for me, and find interesting. I do find it interesting when I read newspaper nowadays because polity has been very factual for me when I prepared last time, but it's like connecting to the real world now, it has become so much easier. And I would love to thank sir for your consistent support, and also my MisFits community for all the supports when I was so depressed and downtrodden. Like, I felt very bad when some those things were happening in Manipur. It has become little bit better now, and I would like to welcome all the new misfitters. It is such a great journey that you are going to embark upon. And for the how to study, I would love to share some of my advice that you just make good notes for history, geography, and economics. Economics, you can rely totally on the notes for the exam prelims. And I also like to uh, say that you trust sir and sir's methodologies. It is really effective, and welcome to the community. Thank you, sir.
Okay, good. I'm glad to know things are getting better in Manipur. Great. Now, yeah, let's hear from one last person, and then we can move to the second phase of today's event. Soumya, after you.
Hi, sir. Hi, everyone. I would want to welcome all of you to this great experience that I think you're going to have when you go through your GS recordings or even the PSIR recordings. Everything that everyone has said before me makes total sense. But one thing that sir has taught me personally, like what I've taken from him, is trusting the process and being consistent. And sir always says that successful people can do the boring every day. So I think more than what I'm learning from the recordings and the syllabus, I'm also unlearning things that I had thought before. So now I realize how consistency, discipline, and all these things are such a great part of the examination. I think even if we finish the syllabus but do not follow consistency, it might just impact our result. I have not given UPSC CSE as an attempt before. This will be my first, but I'm trying to follow everything that sir has said. And I also would like to say that the community you've entered is an absolutely phenomenal community where everyone supports everyone. There's no competition, as everyone said. It's so collaborative, and everyone is there for each other. So even if you're having a bad day with your mental health, you can reach out to any one of us on through the community on LinkedIn or anywhere else. But just remember that we're there for each other, and try to be consistent and try to finish the GS portions and PSIR, whichever you're doing, as per sir has indicated. And you will realize that things would make sense to you. Like, polity is almost logical now, which is something that I never thought it would be. So I think, yes, this is my takeaway. And I'm also pretty glad that I myself am part of this community. So thank you.
Oh, great. And Sanskriti, you just became part of it. Introduce yourself and what's your journey?
Hi, good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Sanskriti. Uh, First of all, I would like to thank all the veteran fellows here uh, for such kind of word of advice, and I'll definitely try to follow them. I have begun this beautiful journey with Misfits from February, and I'm excited to join this. Uh, the advice which the fellows gave, like being consistent, trusting the process, and being trying to interactive with the recordings while we watch it, is something I'll definitely follow. And thank you so much.
Okay, good. All right. I'm excited to see how all of you will grow and thrive. Ankit, Ranish, Narsimha, Sanskriti, Pooja, Saurabh, Aditya, Arul, Ishan. So yeah, look forward to seeing how you all will grow and thrive. And time to come, you will see that magic. See, one thing I can tell with my hand on my heart is that the people you see on these screens, these are some of the most beautiful people inside and out, period. Why do I say that? You may find this unbelievable, Because as humans, we always undervalue our talents. As humans, we always think very lowly of ourselves. Very easy to figure out, the weaknesses. So you may not believe when I say this, but let me say this out loud and mark my words. 10 years down the line, all of you, all the people you are seeing on these Zoom screens, all these misfitters, they will be shaping policies. They will be building institutions. They all will be making tough decisions that will impact billions of Indians. Of course, some of you will be in civil services. Some of you may join politics. Some of you may launch startups. But all of you will be leaders in your own ways. I have full faith, full belief in that statement. That will happen. That's why we are here for. It is not easy for anyone to dedicate so much amount of time doing the boring things multiple times on daily basis. I'm seeing how remarkably some of you have grown in terms of how you speak, how you convey your messages, how you think, how you question. I'm fairly certain that each one of you will stand your grounds. Each one of you will never fear speaking truth to power. In other words, each one of you will have a spine made of steel. Currently, we are all aware how this steel frame has turned into a stale frame, smelling badly on daily basis. One reason is, of course, the way the steel frame was trained in those useless pilings of Mukherjee Nagar, Road Rajinder Nagar. All of that has to change. And all of you will be on this, who you see today, all of you will be at the forefront of a revolution in India. And you all will have all my support. Today, tomorrow, before your prelims, after your mains, after your interview, you all will have all my support. Of course, you may see the recordings, but we will make sure that we also engage in live sessions like these. May happen once a month with me, may happens multiple times in a week before your prelims or after your prelims. So when we started this networking of nights and days, it was never just about networking in traditional sense. It's not about exchanging your LinkedIn profiles or adding contacts to a phone book. It should be beyond that. It's about finding your own tribe. That is important. Why? Why do I say that? Finding your tribe is important. Finding your tribe is important. Think of any revolution, any reform. Think of greatest transformations in India. Never by those who worked as lone warriors. All of those things happened because it was led by the collective. Individuals who found their tribe, their people. Subhash Chandra Bose ji was not alone when he raised the Indian National Army. Nehru ji was not alone when he dreamt of a modern India. Ambedkar ji was not alone when he drafted the constitution. Sardar Patel was not alone when he unified this nation. Gandhi ji was not alone when he led the freedom struggle. None of them worked in silos. None of them were islands. Cannot happen. They surrounded themselves with people who shared their vision, their grit, their fire. They built networks, not just of contact, but also of ideas, courage, action. They debated, they agreed, they disagreed. They inspired, they corrected, but they stood with each other. Okay? Think about any leader, any organization. Think about Bhagat Singh ji. Of course, he was brilliant, no doubt. But then look at the people who he surrounded himself with. Rajguru, Sukhdev, Chandrasekhar Azad, Patukeshwar Dutt. These were not just names in history books. Young men, much like all of you, found each other, who sharpened each other's minds. That is important. You should not bring the person next to you down. You also become power for each other. Imagine if Bhagat Singh ji was alone. He had not met his tribe, the revolution, the resistance that he stood for. There would have been no Hindustan Socialist Republican Association. So revolutions never happen in isolation. tribe is important, especially at this age. Very important. Who you surround yourselves with, extremely critical. Indian National Army, not built in a day, not by single men. It was built by thousands of Indians who believed in different kind of struggle. He was thinking beyond petition, protests. Of course, he disagreed with Congress back in the days. But that does not mean that he lost his tribe. He traveled from Berlin to Tokyo, Subhash Chandra Bose, Singapore to Rangoon, convinced people to take actions. One very interesting thing about Subhash Chandra Bose is that even in exile, he said that I never felt alone. Exile was supposed to make you feel alone, lonely. But even in exile, he never felt alone. Why? Because he had a community, a shared mission, a group of people who understood that history would not be kind to those who waited. So that's what we are doing here. History is shaped when people like you find a tribe. People who will challenge you, push you, support you, may disagree with you. You may all fall together, but you will also rise back again. That's the beauty. So that's why we have this networking of nights. I'm very clear that we are not training just officers or politicians or entrepreneurs. It's a movement, one that will become the steel frame for India. So yeah, look around 10 years down the line, the faces you see today will be the ones shaping policies, drafting laws, leading protests, and making decisions that will impact millions of Indians. And when that happens, you all should also understand how it started with this tribe. So throughout this journey, please do not become spokesperson or mouthpieces for these useless parties. BJP, Congress, AAP, ever. Don't fall into that trap. Today, as Indians, we are easily distracted by religion, caste, language. All of that is happening. We get distracted with what did Nehruji do when he was a prime minister. But whataboutism should end somewhere. All of you raise your hands. Anyone has thoughts on the stock markets? What happened? What's happening? Anyone who plays around with stock markets? Aditya, thoughts? What's happening? Not audible to me. Shantanu?
Yeah, Pranam sir. All the FIIs are going away because they are getting very lucrative interest rates in the US, and they are feeling that US markets are more safer compared to countries like us. So
But
this is
why?
one reason, and because their interest rates have been improvised, and their currency is more stable, so that's why investors are relying on a much more stable economy.
Okay. Stable economy. Ayodhi, your thoughts? What's happening?
Good afternoon, sir, first of all. Sir, now China has become a second option rather than investing in India because we both are growing economies, and the interest which the investor used to get from India, now they are supposed to get it
See,
from China.
all of this is what you may study in Hindu or Indian Express. Think like misfitters.
So FIIs is also a point that majorly FIIs are hot money is going away from the
It's all
economy.
reactive, the thoughts. Something that you may read in the newspapers and then you will just blurt out those opinions. Nothing wrong with that. Billions will do the same way.
So one thing I remember that you taught in economics class that when we were studying FPI portfolio investment, so we studied discretion between FDI and FPI. and how FPI is a hot money and how it can instantly destabilize the stock markets. And that is what is happening right now. The economy is
Okay.
grappling because of that. Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Good job, by the way, all of you. Have some opinions. Nothing, just have opinions. Could be wrong, could be correct, but have opinions. Ankit, your thoughts? Are you investing now?
Yeah, good afternoon, everyone. Yeah, I'm thinking around the lines that the world is becoming more protectionist, like every country is trying to play in their own backyard, I guess. Uh, Even the recent news about US, their economy is also not very lucrative to investors now. I don't
Where did
exactly
you read
remember
that?
I guess today's newspaper.
Okay.
It's like the investors are really not sure about US being a stable economy anymore. And suddenly it is more clear why Putin was interested in Ukraine. Like they are now sharing the riches of the war that they have secured from Ukraine, the rare earth metals. America and Russia are probably now
Okay.
going to share those
One thing
riches.
is, good job. See, one thing is we need to be factual. Look at data. That's it. Look at the data from markets in EU, look at data from markets in US, and look at the capital market returns in India. You will get your answers. Which economy did good, which economy did bad, which economy is attracting talent, so on and so forth. How many of you read that report by Bloom Venture recently? Very scary report. Anyone read that report by Bloom Venture? Siva, what is that about?
Like 90% of Indians don't have money to spend.
Very scary. You keep on saying India's demand, demand, demand. Consumers. What consumers? Today, India has 1.4 billion people. But do you know how many of them actually have the money to spend? Basis that report, more than 1 billion Indians, 1 billion. That's nearly three-fourths of our population. They are trapped in this cycle of poverty. Despite being a nation of 1.4 billion people, our consumer base is less than that of Mexico, to put it bluntly. For more than a billion people, survival takes precedence over aspirations. Fact. And that is shameful and concerning both. Why? Because it's not just poverty, it's about what poverty breeds. When people do not have jobs, when families do not have food, when dignity is stripped away, crime does not become a choice. It becomes inevitability. That is what we are seeing now. Thefts, not just, the physical one, but digital one as well. Violent crimes, extortion, human trafficking, frustration, anger. Not just statistics. These are the warning signs of a nation in a distress. Loans app, look at them. Ponzi schemes, selling false hope. I think I was reading a few days ago, 60-year-old cancer patient lost all her money on a digital arrest scam. That's just one, not just one incident. There's so many. I'm sure many of you have also observed this at closer circles. And billion people have nothing to lose. System itself is at risk. For decades and decades, we have sold this dream, a dream that India is rising, India is shining, path to prosperity. For more than a billion people, that's not the case. Handful of billionaires, they hoard the wealth. Corporations in all their annual reports will brag about what? Indian consumer market. The reality is that market doesn't even exist for 75% of India. These stocks, HUL, ITC, these are those stocks that supposed to, FMCG should. It's also collapsing. History has taught us time and again when inequality reaches the breaking point, what happens? French Revolution, Arab Spring, no future for youth. Fall of regimes worldwide, same story. Economic despair turning into political rage. Today, it's not easy for any of us to buy a new home. Affordable housing market has shrunk from 40% of the 40% of the market to just 18% now. On the other hand, you have Coldplay tickets, Ed Sheeran concert tickets, selling out in minutes at prices that than what people will pay in US or UK or Europe. More than that. Much easier for you to go to Budapest and rent the concert versus doing that in India. Economists, like always, they come up with new terms. These terms will be asked in the examinations, by the way. What's that term that they're calling it now? K-shaped recovery or what? What is it? K-shaped recovery. You would have stumbled upon this, multiple newspapers. Myra?
Sir, after COVID, it was noticed that there is a K-shaped recovery in India. It means that certain sectors of the economy are growing and they are covering up back, but certain sectors are not able to reach back to the place they were pre-pandemic.
Read about it. K-shaped recovery. I think I spoke about this in the classes as well, economics. And very interestingly, the entire nation today is bathing in the opium of religion. Healthcare collapsing in Jhansi, newborn babies burnt. But what are Indians engaged in? Propaganda movies. New opium. Have you seen that video of a lady going viral after she watched the movie Chhawa? Let me show you. Very interesting video. At a time when world is moving towards focusing on AI and whatnot, this is what's happening in India. It's being normalized also. And this is not normal. This is not normal. Look at the present. Something which happened in what, 17th century, 18th century. That's concerning for you, not what's happening today. Of course, we've had a lot of discussions on this in length. So we'll not do this again. But coming back to the question, what's the reason? Why Indian stock market collapsed? Let me give you a no-nonsense answer. The Indian market is not collapsing. The Indian capital market is being murdered by some useless bureaucrats in Ministry of Finance. Why? So that they can meet their targets set by their bosses. Think about it. For any economy to grow, capital markets need to thrive. Investors' confidence, liquidity, trust in system. That is what capital markets reflect. But what are we seeing here in India? Milking stock markets for tax revenue. The stock market does not exist in vacuum. It's a barometer for economic confidence. When investors, when they believe in country's future, they pour in money into it. But what are we seeing? Government from all factual standpoints, I'll talk about that. They consider capital markets as a piggy bank. That is what is happening in India today. You're not rewarding wealth creators. Today, bureaucrats are punishing investors with arbitrary taxation, unpredictable policy changes. That is what is happening. First, your banks are not safe. Banks are not safe, by the way. So ED itself emanated in the court of law that it wrongly froze a bank account of a businessman in Delhi. 3 years ago, a woman ran a small garment shop in Delhi. They all paid taxes, made the best to make a living. One day, bank account froze by ED. Why? No explanation. Executive is so power can destroy your business whenever it feels like. Bulldoze your home. The deputy director of ED admitted that they could not read the name of company properly. Not kidding. I'll show you the article also. The thriving business collapsed overnight. Physical health shattered. Mental health destroyed. And ED, just a few years later, in front of Delhi High Court, is admitting its mistake. Banana Republic is what you call it. And then we wonder stock markets collapse because lack of confidence. There's this article, very scary article. Let me show you. I'm sure some of you would have read it. Mistaken identity case. This is the one that got out. There's so many, may not go out. It took 3 years for the court to intervene and resolve the case. In 3 years, what could happen to a business and so many lives? So your money is not safe in your banks. ED could freeze it. And then even if you have the money, digital arrest scams, because your identity is also not safe. Across India, millions are losing hard-earned money to online frauds. That's a reality. And I don't see the logic of blaming ourselves for this. Some of your family members who would have fallen trap to it, they may blame themselves. They should not be blamed. Why? Because their data is not safe. LinkedIn is selling your data. We aren't asking question. LinkedIn was fined 300 million euros in Europe for misusing personal data. In India, free hand. Just a few months ago, personal data of 7.5 million customers of a company led by Aman Gupta, Shark Tank hero, was leaked on dark web. Names, address, phone number, everything sold online. Today, he's sitting with Foreign Minister of India, getting awarded by Prime Minister, Creator of the Year award. Your identity not safe, your bank account not safe, and then you have no job. And then you try to invest your money in stock markets. See, stock markets is a cash cow for the government. Nowhere in the world it happens, by the way. Look at the capital gains tax, long term, short term. Look at the way they've been taxing dividends. Security transaction tax, a hidden tax that is eating into your savings and returns. Mutual fund taxation. Let me give you a real world example. We may read all these things in newspaper, will not comprehend it. But let me give an example. Today, if I am a tax resident of UAE, let's say a foreigner or anyone residing in a different country, I decide to invest 1 CR in Indian stock markets. And let's say my investment doubles up to, let's say, 2 crore. What's the capital gains? 1 CR in this case. Okay. Assume that I invest same amount of money in US stock markets as a UAE resident. Do you know how much tax I pay in India versus US? If I invest the same 1 CR in US stock markets, generate 1 CR capital gains, I pay 0 tax in US. 0% tax on capital gains. US does not tax foreign investors on stock market gains when they are residing beyond US. In India, look at the number. I'm taxed at 20% for long-term gains. Then you have STT, surcharges, cess. My effective tax rate will be 20%. Then you have currency devaluation. 20-30 lakh gone in taxes. Why would any sane global investor put money in India in this scenario? Makes no sense at all. Of course, middle class Indians will do it because it's very difficult to take your money out. But foreign investors, they will not invest. Why should they invest? So many risks already, and then you have so much taxation. Compare your capital gains in Singapore versus Hong Kong versus Dubai versus UK also. Every year, it's becoming a cash cow for government. You take the risk. Today, many of you would have lost money in stock markets. Will government come and rescue you? But once you make profits, see the amount of taxations. Investors are not leaving because they don't believe in India's growth story. India could be a great growth story. They're leaving because Indian government is actively killing investors' confidence. It's not just about foreign investors leaving, or ultra rich are also leaving, running away. Read any report by Henley Partners. Same story. Job creators are leaving, startup founders are leaving, business leaders are leaving. They could build for India's future. If you are an ultra rich entrepreneur in India, why would you invest in India? You would rather invest in Singapore? Change your tax residencies. But yeah, we're busy with Ranveer Allabadia. That's the story for us. You forget about these investors. Think about yourself. Your parents, if they invest in FD, tax heavily. And then you also have inflation. Mutual funds taxed. Why would you consider mutual funds to be short-term speculative trade? And then you multiple IPO scams. Anyone made the mistake of investing in LIC? State-sponsored robbery is what you call it. But we won't talk about it. No one is talking about it. See, India is a remarkable country with remarkable people, no doubt. But the sad reality is they're being brainwashed to a great extent. And we don't have voices, losing it. And sadly, the people who suffer the most will be the ordinary Indians. Salaried class, middle class, entrepreneurs, the first time entrepreneurs. Because they will be the ones trapped in a stagnant economy, no job, no growth, no demand. So today's networking of nights, I want you to play the role of advisor to India's Prime Minister and think of 5 key areas we should now focus on in the midterm. And many of the leaders of today's India, they watch our videos. Okay. So give me some good suggestions. So we'll move to breakout room. Simple story. What are 5 key areas where we should focus on? Also, in coming to prelims, we'll have a detailed session discussion after your breakout rooms are over. But for now, I want you to think 5 key areas where we should focus on. We cannot say that Indians are bad, civic sense no, that not there, Indians are brainwashed. All of that could change because government is the one that brainwashed citizens. That can change also. Doesn't take much time. Any questions up until now? So in breakout rooms, of course, I know many of you are introverts. You will not speak. We'll follow the alphabetical order approach, as we always do. You think for what, 10, 20 seconds, and then with your alphabets, start narrating down the 5 things. Today, we will not have the mental health oriented questions because what's happening in India will impact your mental health. So let's see. Politics has a personal role to play. Narsamma?
Yeah. Good afternoon, sir. Sir, this is my first class. Sir, am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, I mean, I have a question. Like watching most of your YouTube videos, I see your views are against the government. So, imbibing these ideas while we face interview, will it be against government, against the system? Won't it be?
Okay. First and foremost, those sitting in the interview board are not idiots. They have seen their life. They worked for multiple years, 40 years, 30 years across governments. Before you go into civil services, or even when you are in civil services, the loyalty should not be with the government. The loyalty should be with the Constitution of India. Said this time and again. If anything could be proven, keeping the fundamentals of India's Constitution in mind, that is what you should adhere to. People can easily scrape through your bullshit, even in the interviews. I'm working with many who are appearing for the interviews this year. I've worked with many who appeared for the interview last year. They all scored good score. And none of them did that blind bhakti for the government. Again, this useless crap is being taught across lanes, by lanes of Mukherjee Nagar, Old Rajendra Nagar. That there should be blind loyalty to whatever anyone does in the government. Have rationales, have facts, have opinions. Stand by those opinions. And of course, it's also important how you make the other party feel in the interviews. You critique policies, you improve policies. Okay, so don't have that misconception that this is against government. No, for got to be pro-India. That's what I'm saying. Of course, government has done some good things as well. We'll talk about that, but we'll not shy away from being honest. That is integrity, right? Those taking your interviews are not newbies. They've seen the world, experienced the world. Okay, so rationality, facts, logic, opinions. Okay, so let's move into breakout rooms and then we'll come back and we'll talk more about prelims. Okay, welcome back. So what's the advice? One core foundation that should dictate how we should go about forming policies. Anything that you may do could be taxation, could be services, could be consumption patterns, investment patterns. All of that is dictated by that one policy. Safikul, your thoughts?
Yes, sir. So, as we discussed in our breakout room, that after the 1991 reform, India from medical sector it directly goes to the service sector, but we skip the manufacturing sector part.
Something that no one has discussed, not even in an economic survey ever. Let's think beyond those books. Let's think in logics.
Okay, I need some time.
But this is one pattern that we are observing in many parts of the world. Some countries have transformed as and when they focus on this one policy. It's a good question. Think out of the box. Tanmay?
Hello, sir. Good afternoon to you and good afternoon, everyone. So when you put it like that, that almost negates so many points that we had discussed. Something that we have done before, I still believe it should be education because we're talking about midterm. And,
education is again, it's one of the buckets. We can't focus entirely on education. It's also very subjective. I agree. I concur education is important, but what kind?
Yeah, the skill development of our youth, because we keep talking about having the highest youth population.
Okay.
However, we are unable to capitalize on that treasure that we have, and we, in some years, if we do not use it, that will be a lost opportunity. And like how right now we are lamenting the fact that that investment that should have come to India from when they were shifting from China, they went to other Southeast Asian countries. It will be another one of those lost opportunities if we do not employ this skill development of our youth.
Okay. Pratik, your thoughts?
I was thinking on the different line, sir. So I think the biggest challenge of India facing today is not poverty, population, pollution, or casteism. Yeah, that is all are partially correct. But as you said it before, the terrible, uninspired, set playing people occupying the important positions. So there is no skin in the game in that position. So I believe that the proportional representative representation maybe bring down the skin in the game. So all
Let's
the
assume
politicians.
that magically our prime minister wants to really solve for this. He doesn't want to solve for, let's say, having. Let's speak entirely from policy standpoint. At a policy level, our prime minister is genuinely asking you a question: what's the one thing I should now focus on to transform India at a holistic level? What should be my focus? And why should that be my focus? Of course, all of you will have points around your education, remove this religion-based politics, remove the identity markers. But that is not enough. One core objective that should perhaps form the bedrock. And again, I'm debating with you. It's a new way, new idea, new thought. But would love to seek your opinion on this. Leon?
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I think broadening the direct taxes is.
Okay, I think, again, you all would be correct. This is something which I have also not spoken. I've spoken about broadening the tax bases in my classes. So it's got to be your idea now. Not something that I've spoken in all my classes. And we've had many classes. Neha?
Hello, sir. Sir, I was thinking that India should have a national security doctrine. It's a concept which I was reading, and even in the newspapers, it was mentioned. So this doctrine would help us. It gives us a framework and a guiding light about all like the decision that we take in terms of military, diplomacy and economic and even the technological policies. And few of the countries which I was referring was US. They have this strategic book wherein like which is periodically updated, but they do have. And one of the few success stories which I could find was that their war on terror, it was guided by the doctrine that they have, which helped them in launching the counter-terrorist operations. I'm not saying that India does not have some bits of pieces, but we do not have a specific
Hold on.
book or a.
Hold on. First and foremost, I will vehemently disagree that America had that war on terror. No, I would vehemently disagree with that. Not just me, even Americans would disagree with that. And they have disagreed. Iraq had weapons of mass destruction. US itself has agreed that rationale was illogical. No weapons of mass destruction found there. There was no war on terror. You were convinced it was a war on terror. It was a war for oil. It was a war for gaining access to strategic reserves. It was a war to gain access to strategic location. Be it Syria, be it Libya, be it Iraq, same story. Parts of Africa, same story. They had their own war of narrative, basis which they built this argument. It's a war on terror. Americans, do they really care what happens in Afghanistan? American citizens, would they care about that? Do we care about what happens in US or what happens in Pakistan or what happens in Bangladesh? Ideally, we should care about ourselves, our countrymen. They should thrive. Country should thrive. Of course, we will go on to create external enemies. That's how rulers rule. But okay, fair enough. Good point. And of course, all of that was there in Indian Express. So think beyond the newspapers. Currently, newspapers are not covering this part. I'm requesting, none of you should be a passive observer of news. You've got to be active citizens. Only when you're learning things actively, you will remember those things. You'll remember those patterns. Passively, we are fed news. As misfitters, you should be the one forming opinions. And to be honest, whatever we have learned at Misfits has been all foundational. We are predicting future bases, no? Some of you will go back to the economic episodes and you will realize what we said, what we discussed a year ago is happening now, may happen in the future. My classes on gold. Should have bought gold in those discussions. There was a class when I spoke about political risk consulting. As private equity investors, you don't just look at economies of countries. You also look at the social fabric of country. What are they being taught in their schools? Why? Because over the time and time to come, these young minds will become the leaders of the nation. What are they being fed? Are they divided? Are they united? What are their value systems? Pakistan is divided. Makes no sense for me to invest in that country. Social fabric of a country is divided. Why would investors, gain money out of it? Of course, they can trade in the short run, but in the long run, I don't think I'll invest in Pakistan or Libya. Short run, I can. Short run, I may invest in Ukraine, not in the long run. Sahil, thoughts?
Sir, I'm thinking about technology, basically artificial intelligence. Like US has ChatGPT, China has
But all
DeepSeek.
of that is there in the newspapers.
Other than that, I
Anything
think
new?
about other than that, whatever articles I have read, then maybe like if we are focusing on India, we should focus on starting manufacturing and infrastructure, thinking about that.
Okay. Narasimha, your thoughts?
Yeah, sir. Firstly, so first priority is having a strong opposition, that is local governance. Strengthening the local governance will bolster in all sectors. You take the education, health, management.
Now just imagine you're talking to the Prime Minister and he genuinely wants to solve this. Okay. But it has to be practical also. As civil servants, you will not just give ideal solutions. You focus on practical solutions. And we all know, the trend of a politician is that they want to maximize power. That's how they thrive, that's how they grow. As civil servants, you will be in that very critical position of nudging opinions of your policymakers, decision makers. So think of a practical solution. Of course, it may not be ideal, but practically speaking, this will benefit your country.
Yes, sir. So some tough decisions will lead to good results. So I'll convince.
No, practical would be, so Modi ji, would he care about grassroots politics, grassroots development? Someone who is known for centralizing tendencies, someone who would want to crush the opposition, Congress Mukt Bharat.
Like showing him some what some interest in that vote bank or etc. If we develop that particular area where his party wins, if we develop in that way.
Okay. You're advising as core policy maker, focused on policy, something that is practical, something that is achievable. We can't change constitution. Let's assume that we cannot change constitution. Very, very difficult to introduce new amendments. Easy to introduce, but difficult to pass through those amendments. Sanjeev, thoughts?
Hi, sir. So we discussed a lot of sectors during the breakout rooms, agriculture, education, manufacturing. But I think the one underlying area that would help all of these sectors is research and innovation. And from midterm perspective, I think Israel can be a good example of how they invested heavily in defense and aerospace in 70s and 80s, up to like 10%, 30% of their GDP, and they don't do it anymore. Like I think 5 or 6% is what I'm seeing on Wikipedia
What I'll do is
from
I'll
2016.
make a note of the important things that you are saying. Just give me a second. So one thing that I stumbled upon was just a second. One thing was education. Second thing that you mentioned is what? Research and development, right? Taking a cue from Israel. What else? Animesh?
Sir, I was thinking from the perspective of to give out incentives for growth. So, what incentives we can give in the economic sector to bolster growth? They could be like rationalizing the tax policies, uh, creating quality jobs which will boost the consumption, which will create a positive cycle like of
Okay.
positive externalities and other
All
things.
right, fair enough. So I note this point down. Quality jobs bolstering the rationalizing tax policy. Okay. Divyansh?
Sir, I was thinking along the lines of family planning policy.
Family planning policy. Okay. Srishti?
So, am I audible?
Yes.
So, I was thinking fiscal policy because I think, and when I look into the data of for 2024 to 2025, so I saw that government's expenditure is more than the revenue. And I think it is not ideal.
That's fine. I mean, that happens with many countries. I agree it's not ideal, but okay, fiscal policy, making a note of it. Some can say monetary policy also. Some can say whatever things. It's fine. Rashri, thoughts?
Sir, what I was thinking was, of course, education, manufacturing, and all of the points that has been already covered. But one thing that actually struck my mind is that government is like putting expenditure more on those things which are actually increasing government liability instead of like bringing out productive assets. The example we can give of various freebies and other expenditures that government actually provides. Some examples can be all this Ladli Behna Yojana and whatever happened in the recent Delhi election when there was a sort of a tripartite like struggle between this.
Now let's assume that is needed for Modi's survival. That's how he's winning elections. Will you go and tell him that, don't do this? Let's be practical, okay? We're becoming a practical civil servant. As misfitters, of course, it's fine to be revolutionary, but we have to be within the bounds. Of course, we want to be part of services and then we'll bring for certain changes. But let's be practical. We can't go and tell Modi ji that don't do this. Because if he does not do it, AAP would do it, or Congress would do it.
So maybe then the government can focus on like a second order or third order thinking, focusing more on critical energy, like critical minerals, AI, and other things, which will actually give a leverage to this.
What critical minerals? I mean, China has taken over Latin America. America has taken over many parts of Middle East.
But I think
Can India compete? We can't even
Uh,
take stance in front of Trump.
Not right now, sir, but I think instead of becoming a mere participant in this particular race, I think India should actually take more of a better stance here.
Okay. Okay. The next 3 minutes, I'll talk. I'll seek your advice, and then we'll move towards what I'm planning to talk about. Shantanu. So far, I've heard education, research, development, taxation reforms, family planning, fiscal policy, freebies. What else?
Respect.
Respect?
Like, see, people are divided into communities and their respective reformations, but there is a collective, like there is a failure in collectiveness. For example, whenever it comes to election, each and every community is waiting for their biasness.
Again, talking to Modi ji, telling him don't divide people. He will say, we thrive as BJP, we thrive via dividing people. This is religion. If we don't divide, then Congress will come divide basis caste. Think like a leader. Talking to Modi ji, advising him. Of course, I've spoken and spoke a lot about Chanakya and Machiavelli in PSIR classes. Think what Chanakya or Machiavelli would say, or think. Eventually, we want our country to thrive. I am at such an influential position that I could nudge the policymaker. But it has to be practical. All of us should win in that game. Modi ji should win, I should win, country should win. Forget about ideal solution. Ideal solution about education, social fabric. Think about something which no one is discussing. I don't know why they aren't discussing it. Perhaps that's why they're not part of MisFits. In fact, Nassim Taleb says this, newspapers are a scam. It's useless. Generalists. Terrible at predicting things. Shivani?
We should focus on food production policies, which will be driven through sustainability and technology. So basically, agricultural policies. Because let's say we should aim to become the food producer for the world in that perspective.
See, we have divided land anyways. We have our weaknesses here. In terms of land and the number of people living in that land. Compare that to what's happening in Latin America. Compare that to what's happening in, let's say, China, US. There are countries that didn't focus on this. Singapore, they import the food. UAE imports the food. I'm giving you some hints now. But good, I mean, I agree. All of these are good points. I'll note down food production focus. Aditya? We just have to brainwash one person's mind, that's Modi ji, and convince him that let's focus on this. And he also agrees, and he should also agree with that. And with that, he also grows. As India, we also thrive. But you're just one shot. This is what I will convince him. Aditya?
Yes, sir. So I'm thinking like making Myanmar our satellite state.
Myanmar satellite state.
Yes, sir. First stabilizing it. First stabilize because
And China would allow that.
yes, exactly. I was just thinking, sir, if we have satellite states in Sri Lanka, if we had like so, our maritime would be like easy to do trade. We would have like not like have to be scared of like attack from there. Like it would be secure.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh, good. I mean, makes sense. I mean, that's fine. We should have multiple satellite states. Perhaps you should have a satellite state in the US, hopefully. America is doing this very well. They are now controlling Twitter. Ideally, Indian government should ban Twitter. Because now Twitter is no more, that social media platform like Instagram. It is a proper tool of America's foreign policy. Easily, Elon Musk can make anything go viral. He can suppress algorithms. He can ensure Modi loses the next elections. And perhaps that's the reason why our honorable Prime Minister, see his delegation. You had the NSA, you had the foreign minister. On the other side, you had Elon Musk, his wife, his kids, babies. That photo is pretty interesting. Showcases the power Elon Musk has now. Can you imagine him doing the same thing with Chinese premier? Cannot. Because his success is not tied to how he manages Twitter. Of course, no media is talking about this, and it's not the strategy that I'll tell him. Of course, I'll tell him if I were to ban Twitter. It's a devastating tool now in the hand of Americans. They are dictating policies the way they like. This is Twitter. In Germany, the new chancellor who was sworn in, they are legitimately concerned about how Twitter is evolving. Brazil, I think it's banned already. China, not there. Germany is talking about it. Picking up snippets, making it go viral. Elon Musk is a key member of American cabinet now, in a way. Sovereignty, we can't protect it if we are giving it away to these behemoths. If we don't have our own data privacy, do you think our leaders have their data privacy? And if our leaders don't have data privacy, see how they can be blackmailed into doing things they don't want to do. Of course, Twitter will be there, but anything else? Aman?
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Sir, one policy which can focus on every citizen of India should be taxed directly income tax to help the government accountable.
Okay, your voice was breaking for me, so I cannot comprehend it well. So I'll come back to you. Amitos, after you.
Hello, sir. I don't know if I'm going to get the chance to speak again. I just want to start by thanking and showing my gratitude to you and this community. Being a misfit is hard, and there are a lot of reasons you can conform to the society, and you have to fight that battle every day. But these 2 hours every month, those are enough, to let me know why I'm doing this. So just getting back to the point. So one very specific point that I would want to be the North Star metric. If you solve for that, it will solve for everything. Inequality, reduce inequality in the society. If you reduce inequality in the society, you will solve for employment. You
So
will
Modi
have to
ji, if you
solve for.
talk about solving for inequality, his funding for election is driven by how much money he gets from Vedanta.
But
His funding depends upon how much he gets paid by Adani or Ambani.
yes,
Of
sir,
course,
but
it's good for the talks, but I don't think, practically speaking, it is possible. And you just one shot are convincing him that let's do it.
it is, sir, practically possible because there is the power of money and then there is the
Which
power of.
country has practically solved for inequality? Tell me that.
There are Nordic countries and there are countries in Europe where I'm not saying you can have an ideal society or anything of that sort. I'm saying that you can bring the levels of inequality down, and if you do that, you will have immense
But then the question
political
is, how do you
gains.
define inequality? Is it social? Is it economic? Is it political? There can be multiple kinds of inequality. There will be debates thereafter. Go on.
You can start with one, and it will be. I would tell to Modi ji, it will get you immense political gains, even if you reduce it only by a small margin.
But what kind of inequality?
I you will have to choose where you want to focus, but I think the broader that is a specific point, and the broader point would be to unify Indians in a common, inclusive political program. That is what the Indian national movement did, and from that we got the idea of India. From that we got the constitution, and that is what drives us. And so that will become, if that is not very practical solution, but yeah, if talking about a broader point.
See, many may disagree, but I think the beauty of India is its diversity. Our multiple languages, our social customs, our culture. We cannot have that uniformity. We should not strive for that uniformity. It's deadly, it's disastrous. It can break apart the nation if we force that uniformity. We have to celebrate the diversity of India. It's beautiful. The plurality that we have of India, beautiful. Multiple festivals, multiple religions should be celebrated. In terms of inequality, good point. In my heart, I would want, we have that equal society, but it's practically difficult for him to convince. Even if he tries his heart out, there are compulsions for a leader like him. Now, we're sensing we all read the newspapers and we all have those points that newspapers will talk about. But all of those solutions have a problem. Monica?
Hi, Naman. So I'm just thinking out loud when it comes to foreign policy and Chanakya. I would probably advise him to turn all your foes into friends, make major economic corridors with all the neighboring countries, give a lot of loan to Pakistan. That's what they need. I'm sure they'll agree. Control water flow. And anyways, you are becoming the power of the global South. So this will give you major strategic power. Make get all the buffer states under your control. Like build major economic corridors with them and let them lean towards you. And when it comes to sovereignty, if you're not able to make your own sovereignty, or if your sovereignty is compromised, then start creating artificial islands in the Indian Ocean, like China.
Now, all of you unraise your hands. All of you unraise your hands. Now, what are your thoughts on something called as immigration? A term that we have heard multiple times from US, from UK, from Europe. Immigration. What is this immigration? The minute talks about so by the way, to be very clear, Donald Trump is not against immigration. Many of you may say he's against immigration. Even he realizes that his country will succeed and thrive if they have good immigration policy. What is that policy? Once you are attracting good talent, not the illegal immigrants. He knows, he has married multiple times. All his wives, many of the wives, immigrants. Elon Musk, an immigrant. Satya Nadella, an immigrant. Sundar Pichai, an immigrant. The building for America these days. Immigration. All our debates are around, illegal migrants, illegal immigrants. But think about immigration. It's a beautiful term. Nations survive, thrive basis how are they able to attract good talent, retain that talent. Are we able to attract good talent? Think about UAE. Think about Singapore. They transformed their economies basis the talent that they're able to attract. How many international flights do we have directly from, let's say, Delhi to Argentina? But you will somehow find a direct flight from, let's go, if you're in Dubai. You've connected the world through Dubai. Such a tiny land. INSEAD is in UAE, the business school. It's in Singapore, the global school. There is NYU Dubai, NYU Abu Dhabi. China is trying this to its SEEBs and many other universities, Schwarzman Scholars Program. Look at the Indian schools. Are we attracting good talent? Indian School of Business was started with the idea that we'll have, a global school. Go to any classroom in ISB Hyderabad. You will have folks from Delhi, Mumbai, Hyderabad, Mohali. At max from Nigeria. Couple of folks from for diversity or Nepal. Think about your own universities back in the days of Guptas, back in the days of Mauryas. Global universities. Are we able to attract good talent or not? What is the reason why US came up with this new idea of what gold visa or whatever that is? Perhaps they want to have those people who have the money. Perhaps they will invest in that country for whatever reasons. Not just that, I think there are some tax breaks as well. Not just US, Portugal had that golden visa program. Invest in our bond markets, invest in our stock markets. You will have a guaranteed residency program. Greece has this. UK had it. Australia has it or had it. Immigration. Decent countries, they try to attract good talent. Today, if I were to give you an option that you have two options, go to Iran or Pakistan or US for next job, where would you go? For education, where would you go? For holidays, where would you go? Iran. We have to attract good talent. We have to attract good tourists. We have to attract good people. When will we do it? How will we do it? How about we design all our policies around immigration? That's the goal. We want to retain exceptional talent, and we have to make, Vasudev Kutumbakam for every answer Modi ji has. Think about this. Make India that home. We have no diversity left. Shamelessly, at any Taj Mahal or any other place, many of my friends who come in India, that's the last trip every time for them. Harassed by local tourists for a photograph. A fetish for white skin. Why? Because we don't see that often. Slowly, steadily, we become an insulated society. Immigration is important. Why do people immigrate? All of your ideas will come there. They go in for education, right? That's your first thing. Satya Nadella had to go to US Wharton School for his MBA. He loved his time there, built connections, built his connect. Thereafter stayed there for longer duration. Sundar Pichai, even though he studied in a subsidized IIT, went to Stanford, went to Wharton. Why? Education. Many go to Singapore today. Why? For education. Lee Kuan Yew School of Public Policy, great school. INSEAD, great school. NU Singapore, great school. And they stay there in longer. In India, how many, are there people who would want to come and study in India? From global standpoint, the minute you have a chance, you not want to be in IIT, but rather want to be at Harvard or Stanford. Our politicians, their kids studying in those universities anyway. They're emigrating. You had a point on research and development. Why do the folks go in for PhDs abroad? Research development. Good biotech companies in Boston area. But here we had a useless, scientist talking about that Ganga had this filtration system. automatically cleans itself. Rationalizing taxes. The one reason why Dubai is able to attract such talent, or Singapore was able to attract talent, because they rationalized taxes. Why? Because they wanted to attract good folks to come in, invest in Singapore. They didn't burden the investors with STT, short-term capital gains tax, long-term capital gains tax, and what all nonsense is there. And once you are in Singapore, once you're in Dubai for a few years, and you acclimatize to that situation, you may not want to go beyond that. Why? Because there is a switching cost involved. Answer lies in attracting good folks to visit your country. Family planning policy is directly tied to your education levels, employment status. We can't be Sanjay Gandhi dictating what we want to, forcing others to do what government wants. Sane, educated people will plan families, plan things, plan life. They will not always be reactive. Everything will change if you focus on immigration. Perhaps our relations with nations will change. Why? Because we may develop more empathy of how others think about India. Perhaps we may have much more civic sense in time to come. On the other hand, what's happening is good people are emigrating. Very devastating. They're forced to emigrate. Earlier, it was just the high class, but now every class want to emigrate. That's how they will find a good life. Core focus should be immigration. And India is a marvel in many ways. Any point that you have mentioned is somehow directly, indirectly connected with immigration, no? Krishti?
So I just wanted to ask that is India in a state of like because we India is not able to provide resources for the people who are living in India. Are we able to provide for them also who are coming into our country? And that's the concern.
I think there was a very interesting article that I think on Economic Times, in Economic Times, that and it was again around our taxation policy, how we are harassing the honest taxpayers. When we have such regressive taxation policy, we are driving away the taxation also. Let me find out that article for you. Just give me a second. I want each one of you to read this article, if time permits. And let me know if you've read this article. This is titled as Careful with the Tax Goose. Let me screenshot this for you. Careful with the tax goose. Rather, I think I have. Can you see this? Tilt your head. This article. Like I told, we can't. So none of you can be a lone warrior. Okay. We've got to collaborate with others. Perhaps same thing goes with countries. You can't be lone warriors to collaborate with others. So perhaps that is a way out. The purpose of my session was that, you may read many things in time to come for a couple of months in the newspapers, but I want you to think in terms of an active citizen. Question whatever you are reading. How does it help us? Is it practical? What can be the concerns? Even if US is rolling out that Visa card, why are they doing it? How does it help? If Jaishankar ji is having and signing contracts with Italy or Japan on sending across India's low-skilled workers, good for India, bad for India. But yes, actively engage in whatever you may read. There's a reason why I spoke a lot about taxation, investments, immigration. Because I'm seeing a trend amongst many of you that you are becoming passive readers. You're given certain information, you cram it. That's it. What about thinking? India is dead poor. But if we throw away our wealth creators, entrepreneurs, if we are forced to leave India, what do you think India will become then? If we're unable to attract good talent, what do you think will India will become then? We anyway do not tax them directly. Tax base is very poor for direct taxes. If we want India to grow and if we want India to thrive, we have to ensure good Indians, good citizens, honest taxpayers, good entrepreneurs that stay in India, build for India, live in India, to pay taxes in India. Unfortunately, they are forced. The minute you raise money from Sequoia or any other venture, the first advice investors will give you, we have to restructure your company. Why? Because India, tax gone in a minute. Why? Because bureaucrats have weird kinds of incentives in Ministry of Finance. They're given targets. Tanmay?
Thank you. So I wanted to ask, so, okay, you said the question was that the one advice that we would want to give our Prime Minister, what one thing we can do, how can we use immigration policy as a means? Because until
As
we
what?
have the as means to achieve this attracting good talent, right? That is our end goal, to attract good talent so that we do not have the lack of diversity anymore. The foreigners are not, something very, something to look at and, admire anymore. They're just part of us. So my point is, how can we use immigration policy as a means before we have before we have the ability to offer those things? If we do not improve on all these topics, almost all the topics, all misfitters have discussed. Yeah, please go ahead. Yeah, that was. Thank you.
Yes. So in the midterm goal, what do you think Dubai has done? Midterm, Dubai would have thought that we have to focus on immigration, attract good talent. To achieve that midterm goal, they will have certain short-term targets. One of that short-term target could be as simple as making Dubai airport the center of world. Flight should not go to Istanbul. Dubai should be the connecting wheel across the world. Just simple move. The minute someone lands in Dubai, perhaps they're forced to be in Dubai for some time, they may explore Dubai. They may spend a day in Dubai before they go and reconnect to a newer flight. So, like I said, midterm, what's the focus? And then we build on multiple short-term goals. Could be infra, could be tourist hotspots. It's a shame the minute you land in India's tourist destination, Goa, the minute you land on the airport, Today, what you will see, you will not talk about the culture of Goa, local cuisines of Goa. All throughout, it's casinos, casinos, casinos. That's Goa for you. Observe yourself. Land in Goa, that's what you will see. The minute you step outside of the airport, try booking an Uber or Ola, not there. Then there are some scam taxi drivers. That's the first experience a foreigner will have with Goans. And then they will form views and opinions about Goa. But I'm never coming back again. And then we'll wonder what's happening. So in the short run, we'll have to then think from their perspective. What do they like? We have got to have an end user, no? That's my end user. Good quality talent should be in India of any kind. And good quality talent should never leave India of any kind. That's my focus. And then I will think about all the short-term policies, what all I can do, practically speaking. Of course, it's a topic that no one is talking about, no one has discussed. So it's of course open up for many debates. But think about this: can we design India keeping this as a central loop? Of course, to have good immigration, you've got to have good universities in time to come. Again, Dubai solved it, Singapore solved it. Learn from them. Global international universities in those lands. And once you have good talent, companies will come in on its own. You have all seen positive externalities and negative externalities, how they work out. Ranish?
Yes, I just have two things to say. First is a question, and second is one view. I have this very weird question which just popped up into my mind. There are so many people. Why any one of us, like nobody was able to think on the lines which you are thinking on. So, similar thing happens with those who are in power. They are unable to think on the lines in which you and people like you are thinking on. So, what is the reason behind that? This is
Okay, I'll be honest and I'll be brutally honest here. Very good question. And I don't know, how I think or how I do not think. Perhaps the reason is, and I will say this out loud, perhaps my education. So I perhaps got educated in good universities, exceptional universities. And I learned a lot. Be it at Harvard, be it at Fletcher, be it at Tuck, I learned a lot. Perhaps the way I saw the world in the UN. Perhaps the way I saw the world in Eastern Europe. Experience, exposure. And just imagine if every teacher in India came in with such experiences. You spend time for 1 year or 2 years with such teachers. Perhaps things will change. Some of you will go on to occupy good positions, and hopefully, some of you will then convince the Prime Minister, let's focus on these policies. The unfortunate reality is, look at the kind of teachers you have in ORN or Mukherjee Nagar. Failed multiple times, opened up a coaching institute. Even if they cleared the examination, 1 year work experience, 2 year work experience. Not derailing them, not deriding them. That's the world that we live in. I agree. I think you become an average of 5 folks you spend your time with. And teacher has a huge role to play. Very, very important role to play. But anyway, we are, and of course, hopefully this will change with all of you. And I'm already sensing in a good way that many of you are changing the way you are observing the world. The new kinds of lenses that you have, be it that of realism, liberalism, Marxism, of various kinds, constructivism. And this will evolve, I'm sure. Initially, there will be like 3 folks, 3 good people in the position of power. Over time, this will change. You will be in the majority. And that will take time. And once that happens, there will be a chain reaction, who knows? But for now, I agree. Steel frame is a steel frame. An IS officer, someone comments on a post, she's monitoring that post. That person should be jailed. Varnalika, what's her name? I don't know. Very important portfolios. So we have 10 more minutes. Now I want to dedicate 10 minutes for your prelims preparation. Any thoughts, anyone around your prelims? Because no matter what, we have to this time crack prelims. All I know for all the misfitters, means and interviews would be very easy. But we have to crack prelims. And for cracking prelims, the strategy remains the same. No matter how many times you meet me. Of course, last few days are critical, and that is why I will be there with those live sessions, and I hope you all attend it. Because prelims, mains, it all becomes a mental game as well. Many will lose the battle not because they're not prepared enough for it. They will lose the battle because they're not mentally trained to write the examination. Many good folks would have covered the syllabus, they will make useless, terrible mistakes. The last few days will solve for it. But I can't be doing everything. You have got to watch the episodes, build a mindset, have foundation knowledge, combine those episodes with MCQs, combine those episodes with multiple PYQs, solve them multiple times. 3,000 questions from any test series this year, easily downloadable. You have to also cover your current affairs. Even though we call it current affairs, it's factual. And the way you've been trained at MisFits, it's much easier for you to now cram things, learn things. Because you are all trained to become active learners, not passive learners. I never throw information at you. I give you multiple examples across classes. Manasvi, how's it going for you?
Yes, sir, it's nice. The prelims preparation is going fine, and I'm also sending the daily emails. So, my question is related to thinking. So, recently I've realized that whatever I'm about to say or whatever opinion I'm having, immediately the opposite view of it comes into my mind that this can be countered by the other person by saying this. For example, even today, I thought of saying tourism, but then I thought you would say that it is very volatile and very dependent on external events. Look at what happened with Sri Lanka, so I didn't say it. And many a times same thing happens with the deep dive sessions with Shatakshi ma'am. So how to solve for that? I don't say the points, or even sometimes I digress to very vague or general points, and then if the points are not strong or impactful enough.
First and foremost, you should not be, criticize yourself that those points are not coming in. It's totally fine. Make mistakes, give wrong answers. This is your age to give wrong answers. And by the way, no answer is wrong. It's all subjective. And there's another thing, people who acquire knowledge, they are the ones who can think from multiple dimensions. And of course, they can also analyze the mistakes in their own statements. A very important line that I said. If you do not have knowledge, if you don't have knowledge about the world, you will think that you are the one with, with with the perfect points. But once you get to know the world, once you acquire more knowledge, then perhaps you will yourself figure out flaws in your own thinking style. So it's a good thing. So don't worry. Uh, it's a practice. It takes time, and that is why I'm not saying that you can crack prelims in 2 months or 1 month. It takes multiple years to reshape the way we learn things, observe the world, the lenses we wear. Okay, so make mistakes. Don't stress. Your points are wrong. Lay it out, say it out, and make a note of things that you think make perfect sense. Gandhiji says he's also experimenting with truths. He does not know what is the truth. He's experimenting with it. You're always learning. You're always learning, growing. Your views may change. My views may change. Why? Because I'm also evolving. So be open to learning things. That's all I want. And be open to making mistakes. Srishti?
So I'm really concerned about the art and culture part because I have done I've watched all the episodes of ancient history, and I was trying to do the questions, but I observed that many of the questions are from the art and culture part.
Hold
So
it. Hold it. I will
yeah,
solve for this in our live sessions.
okay,
Okay, noted.
okay.
So we'll have multiple live sessions and I'll solve for this. My word. Amitos?
Sir, two questions. One is international. I'm done with history, economic, polity, and geography. International relations and as art and culture and world geography, these three are missing. Can I leave these, or I need to finish these before prelims, and
Okay.
or should I after do
Now,
it after?
all you have to do is you should have watched all the episodes at MisFits and attend the live sessions that we will have for prelims. Okay. In terms of your international relations, don't worry about it. The way we have studied, it's all sorted. Before your mains, we'll have some sessions. Okay. For prelims, don't worry about it.
Sir, your thoughts on group study? Can it help to reduce anxiety or make us more
Oh, group
accountable?
studies are useless for your prelims.
Cool, sir.
Entirely useless for prelims. And that is why I will not encourage you to form groups at this stage. Once you have cleared prelims, we'll see if you can thrive in groups. Otherwise, half the time goes in managing the group. And then you have anxieties. And then you have group politics. And then you have FOMO. That's how millions will lose a good chance. Too many voices, too many opinions, too many confusions. Have clarity, focus on core episodes. Number one, solve MCQs, solve PYQs multiple times. And then attend those 1 to 2 hour sessions that I will have before prelims live. You can have groups before your interviews and also before mains if needed, but not at this stage. It's a waste of time. Anushka?
Hi, sir. I have recently started studying, so 2 months have passed. I have completed around 13 to 14 of lectures of 4 subjects, and I think I'll not be able to complete my syllabus before prelims. So I have an anxiety maybe to complete the most of it, and most of the time goes on focusing on completing and uh, making myself feel positive about it. So, what do you suggest?
Okay. First and foremost, it's a no-brainer that without foundations, nothing will work out. If someone is giving you a magic pill, take this crash course, you will crack prelims. You may crack prelims. But what about mains? What about interviews? What about life? You'll fail miraculously. Even if you crack prelims, you will waste your time preparing for mains. And then again, stage one, stage two, stage three. So baseline has to be sorted. Foundations. Over the foundations, we'll build a beautiful framework that will work. So focus should not be on completing things, should be on comprehending things well. Are you able to understand the whys of things? And that is why base episodes are critical. People can crack prelims or multiple times solving MCQs. Luck based in many cases, prelims examination. But you have to develop the power of conjectures also. It's about answering questions that you don't know and how you form those conjectures. Not just for your prelims, but also for your mains and interviews. More so for mains and interviews. I think the first class that I will have, I'll tell you about the patterns in UPSC. What do they care for? Okay, so for now, my request is simple. I'm assuming you all are sorted with your optional paper. At least have clarity what you will study, from where will you study. If it's PSIR, then don't stress. 120 episodes, revise, re-revise, sorted. But all the others, now don't worry about your optional. Goal should be on cracking prelims. And how do you do it? Focus on foundations to begin with. Do not worry about art and culture, science and tech too much. Focus on core subjects for now. Economy, polity, geography, so on and so forth. You know the core subjects, history. And attend my sessions when I start those sessions. The best part is I'm not selling those sessions. It's all free of cost for you. So there's no incentive for me to even sell this. It's all free of cost that I may have. But yes, you will have to go through the foundational episodes of MisFits. Don't worry about ethics. Don't worry about what essay for now and other subjects. But subjects that are critical for your prelims. Solve MCQs, solve PYQs, 3,000 questions, solve them again, solve them again. That's it. That's my request. Parmanand?
Thank you, sir. I have one question about current affairs that right now, whatever you have said, I totally agree that I am solving the papers from vision and the conjecture is coming along with, I'm just like solving the questions which I don't know at all. But I'm little concerned about the current affairs part. Like, do I have to read PT 365 after doing all the 3,000 MCQs?
Okay. Absolutely not. The minute you have solved 3,000 questions, you will realize current affairs are already sorted in that. The only point is you've got to do the research. And I think that's the best way to do current affairs. Why? Because you're testing yourself in that objective paper. So it's add on. I mean, I will not advise the prelims 360 or whatever you're saying. Current affairs, 3,000 questions, along with the foundations, it will be sorted. Even in those tests, every month, they will put in some questions around current affairs after those foundational tests. The only request is if there is a question on current affairs, then read about it very briefly for 5 minutes. Analyze it. What's happening? Why is that happening? Have that MisFits lens in mind. Okay, so I think I have a call at 3:30 with a MisFitter who has her interview scheduled. So I have to now close the meeting. It was fun catching up with you all. And we will inform you of the next steps for the prelims module on the WhatsApp group. Okay, good luck. We'll have few sessions. At a major level, you have to work, but make sure that you're attending those live sessions also. Okay, good luck. Take care.